Look, I know that no one wants to hear this. I get it. I understand 100%. But there is something brewing here in 2026 that is going to have a massive impact, possibly a catastrophic impact to the entire RV community. We're talking about RV manufacturers slash factories, you, the consumer, parts, dealerships, banks, credit unions, campsites, the whole enchilada. No one is immune. Welcome to HB RV Lifestyle, and today is your March 2026 RV industry update. Now, I'm going to talk a lot about interest rates, which is actually a very positive thing. We're actually moving in the right direction. I think we're just about to the sweet spot. We're also going to talk about some of the interesting things that have happened on the manufacturer side. Now, if you hear them and you want more details, just click over to the podcast list, and I got a bunch of stuff over there. And then we're also going to talk about a possible part shortage, but the cause and what's going to be shortage is actually not what you think. But where we need to start is with the used RV market, which is going to have a massive impact on the entire community. So if you're not following along or have not followed along, the used RV wholesale book has absolutely taken a crap starting March 2024 all the way to now. And I've talked about this, guys. Talked about it at length. Okay. Let me give you some context, real quick context. We went nuts as humanity, especially here in the United States of America. We went nuts on spending during COVID. Now, you can call it all corporate greed, you can call it government, you can blame Democrats, Republicans, you can blame whoever the hell you want. That's your own personal business. But the reality is, and I know people be mad at me for saying this, but if you go look yourself in the mirror and you say that every human being in the United States of America didn't go out and spend like nutcases, and everybody stayed home and paid their bills and waited for everything to kind of calm down, the inflation wouldn't have been as bad as it was. Just saying. Okay. That being said, can't change the past. There has been a large, I should say larger than normal, voluntary repossession rate of RVs that were purchased during COVID. Not COVID new, purchased. We're seeing stuff that was purchased in 2020, 21, 22, and even part of 23 that were both used and new when they were purchased being repossessed at the bank. They're basically giving them back. And the biggest reason why is to stop the clock. Now, we've seen this in trucks, we've seen it in SUVs, we've seen it in cars. We're going to continue to see across the board in any vehicles that were purchased during that three and a half year period. Why? Because either they were unable to sell it because they want out of RVing. Number two is they don't understand the trade-in process and how to get out of their unit. They don't understand it and are not educated, because most folks don't know that trading in an RV is so different from trading in a car. I don't care what Chevy Man says. I don't care what any of those dudes say. An RV is different than a car. And I actually have a video for that. I'll link in the description box below. You can watch it later. Okay. So there's a lack of education there. And the lack of education doesn't stop at the consumer. It actually starts also with the salespeople and the sales managers and the people training them. No one understands how to deal with it. And number three is when they went to go refinance their motorhome, their travel trailer, their fifth wheel, they found out from their credit union that they got to come up with some money down just to refinance the loan to a lower interest rate. Okay. Why is this important? Well, this is important because we know that these units will never hit the open market. Once FEMA gets its money, once Congress and the Senate and all of them get off their rear end and fund Homeland Security or whatever it's going to be, that money, part of that money goes to FEMA, and FEMA has to make purchases of shelters for emergencies, hurricanes, fires, etc. This is going to affect both the manufacturer and the banks, because the banks are still sitting on a lot of these units that they're severely underwater in the loan, and they know that these people, that they can put them in collection, they can try to go after them for the money, the difference money. But the reality is those people are either never going to pay, file bankruptcy, or they're just going to say screw it. So what the FEMA is going to do is FEMA is going to come in and probably buy a lot of those units for retail. Buying them from retail, the people are still underwater in the loan, but the bank is basically bailed out of a lot of that debt that they're never going to collect on or never have the ability to collect on. So what does it do to the manufacturers? Well, the manufacturers depend on FEMA a lot of times to make purchases with their dealer partners so that way they continue to move inventory, especially aged inventory, because FEMA likes to buy a lot of the stuff they can get deals on. So basically, what I'm saying to you is there's going to be a massive bailout by the federal government, specifically FEMA, is going to bail out the banks and credit unions of a lot of the underwater shit that they have at the auctions. Now, the stuff that they've been able to kind of bridge the gap on already, they've sold at auctions to dealerships, and there's tons of units still out there, guys. There's one auction that still has 300 plus units, and the inventory's over 8 months old and not selling. That stuff's going to go to FEMA. It's that's why I love these people trying to scam people on TikTok saying, buy at auction price. Oh, there's a big auction going on that you can be a part of. Just go on this TikTok page with this WhatsApp number and let's take people $1,500, $2,000 deposits and then cancel it and give everybody the middle finger. Boy, am I in a mood today. Yes, I love being in a mood like this. Okay. So what does this impact the people that have a title? Well, the problem is that people that are trying to sell these privately, they're underwater on their loan, are listing their units for a lot higher than the value, even the retail value of the unit. So what does it do to people that have a title? Well, they start going online saying, well, on RV Trader, they have them listed for this. And it sits, and it sits, and it sits. I've had to go to consignments by percentage. I usually like doing a flat rig type thing where, like, if wholesale book is like 25 grand, I'll give the people 30 grand on consignment when it sells. That way I don't have to keep calling them every time I get an offer. I can be in a little better control and understand where we're at. But unfortunately, I've had to go on percentage basis because otherwise I'd have no inventory to sell, because a lot of folks, unfortunately, want way too much money for their rigs. I have an Airstream out there that's the guy wants $15,000 over retail book. Well, you can go buy a new Airstream for a 75 grand more. You can buy mine for this. Okay, well, so you want the 4%. And if you're wondering what I mean by 4%, if you actually look at the surveys that have been released, if you combine them all up, over 96% of people that have bought an RV in 2026 or planning on buying an RV in 2026 are taking some kind of loan out. That means that 4% of people that are going to buy an RV are going to pay cash. So you're targeting the 4%. By the way, most cash buyers want a deal because I'm paying cash, so I have the authority to get a better deal. Trust me, I hear that all the time. That's only true of private party dealership. That's not even close to true, and that's a video for another day. So in the reality of things, when we look at the overall reality, 85% of the people that are going to go get a loan are going to get a traditional RV loan. So how are you going to target 100% of possible buyers? You have to have the unit priced right. Even if you're selling privately, you have to have it priced right. Okay. So this is going to have massive impact on everybody, because if the private sellers don't start lowering their prices down to reasonability, if we don't see people getting better educated about trade-in value, if we don't get better educated overall as a basically as a community, that starts at the top. These general managers and sales managers of dealerships need to get up off their ass and actually start training their guys to be old school and actually show people on paper how it actually works. The consumer base needs to stop treating trade-ins like a car. And once we've gotten to all of that, I think we'll actually get to a better place where the voluntary repossession rate will go down, and we'll see more and more used and new RVs actually make their way into consumers' homes, whether they're buying privately or whether they buy from a dealer. Okay. Now that's a great segue into interest rates. So I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but interest rates actually, for the first time in a long time, actually had a significant decrease compared to last year. Now, let's see. In 2023, I said interest rates would go down starting in 2027. We're a year ahead of schedule. This is a good thing. So I said 2027, we'd probably see rates under 7% as a base rate. We can officially say that today here in March. Now, a base rate, guys, is what you calculate the rate to be as a median. Now, I'm seeing a lot of 7.49, 7.74, 7.99 now. Last year, I was seeing a lot 824, 899, 9.25. But I used always a base rate of 8%, just so everybody can kind of gauge their payment. You can officially start using your base rate at 7% or 6.99. Now, I've seen some 5.99s. I've seen some 6.5, some 6.74s. They're not as prevalent as they probably will be in another year. But I think we're almost at that sweet spot. I think we're about a year away from the sweet spot where people won't be unhappy with the interest rate, but they're not going to be super excited about it either. But I think it'll be the right balance where the manufacturers can build the right amount of units to keep the quality getting better. And on top of that, keep the interest rates right around where they need to be, where the bank makes money, the customer's okay with the payment, the dealership can make a little bit of money, and the manufacturers can build the right amount to keep themselves profitable and keep warranty claims down. As we know, during COVID, the more you build, holy crap, our warranty claims go through the roof because, well, there's a lot of reasons why. It wasn't quality necessarily. It was other factors that people don't talk about because it's not sexy or popular and doesn't get freaking clicks. So just be aware that it's not going to get much better than it is today. So if you're waiting till 2028, 2029 because of interest rates, you're waiting too long. This is probably going to be, in the next probably 4 to 5 months, is probably going to be the sweet spot for everybody where they're going to get the right price, the right interest rate. I think next year we're going to see increases in prices with decreases of interest rate. We're going to start seeing that swing again, where if you're a price buyer, you're going to be mad. If you're an interest rate buyer, you might be happy. Probably not, because interest rates are never going to go back to 4% or 2% like they were. Now, speaking of manufacturers actually have done some weird stuff. Alliance RV bought Midwest Vans. That's interesting. Not going to speak, but I spoke to someone that is familiar with the situation, and they believe that they're going to be okay. I guess there were some factors involved of the purchase that I I'm not really going to discuss in length because obviously that would become boring and technical. But we'll say I was worried. I still am a little worried. But someone close to the situation actually talked to me about it, and we had a good conversation. And I believe there's a big possibility they might be okay. I guess there were some really good detailed factors that made that process move forward. Got to give Grand Design some props here. It's a little weird how fast they've been approving a lot of frame warranty stuff on older rigs. But apparently, my guy in Oklahoma and my guy in South Carolina have both told me that they have like 4 rigs that are like solid twos or momentums and one big reflection that have frame failure, frame flex issues, and there isn't even a hesitation. Now, I don't, again, we can speculate about why all we want. I've gone over that in detail, but at the same time, I've always been like, I want to shove my foot up people's butt when they do something wrong, but I also want to give them credit where credit's due. Let's give a lot of the guys Grand Design credit. They're, whatever's going on over there, whatever has changed, now we just have to take care of everybody else, right? And then Forest River did something really awkward. They are in, so I'm used to having so many different divisions. And I think Forest River, and I'm going to tell you why in a minute. Why, well, at least my hypothesis, my theory behind it. So I did the video about Forest River and how they're junk, that whole video thing, right? And that went very viral. It went viral on TikTok, and it went so viral that it got like 1 million views on TikTok, but I could tell nobody watched past the first minute. Because if you watch past the first minute, you actually get a lot of detail of what Forest River is about. I'm used to so many divisions, and it seems like there's a big consolidation of brands under one umbrella. And we're seeing this at Thor too. Because Thor has decided to basically combine a lot of brands under Jayco and a lot of brands under Keystone. So they're consolidating a bunch of companies that were independent companies that are under the Thor umbrella, and they're combining it into 2 divisions for towable and 2 divisions for motorized. Forest River's doing the same thing, which is interesting because what that tells me is Doug Gettard must be seeing something with quality. They must be hearing something about quality concerns, because some of the brands that have been absorbed under certain divisions are being absorbed under divisions that are known to be the best quality Forest River products, like Flagstaff Rockwood. So Flagstaff Rockwood is under one division of Forest River, and there's a lot of brands that are being sucked into that division under that one person's leadership. So instead of having 9 or 10 or 12 general managers and product managers, it's like they're consolidating it under 4. Now, I don't know if it'll go all the way down to 4. But if it does, that's a huge leap forward, because that means Forest River is paying attention to you guys saying that they're bad quality. It's the quiet white glove rather than the big loudmouth that sits in a car screaming, crybabying that, oh my God, YouTubers are picking on me. I mean, that's the quiet, silent, hey, looks like we got a problem here. That's a bad Jack Nicholson, but something that nature is going on under Thor and Forest River, and I'm wondering if it has something to do with that. I'm wondering if that's why Thor didn't buy Brinkley. I wonder, because I know Thor wanted to buy Brinkley, and I wonder if part of the reason, not only the cash flow problem that Thor had for a little bit, but I wonder if they wanted to consolidate all this stuff before they move forward making a purchase. Because that kind of consolidation means that you're delaying any new purchases, big major purchases, for at least, 2 to 4 years? Just by history, right? So if we look at it from that perspective, it looks like Brinkley, Genesis Supreme, Alliance, a lot of these independent companies are going to stay independent for probably a couple more years. This actually might be beneficial to the industry and all that. Now, when it comes to the part shortage, and I wasn't sure if I should even talk about this because people will turn this into some kind of political propaganda crap in the comments section, which I want to avoid. But then again, I'm like, we better speak on this. The part shortage is not going to come because of Hong Kong or China or Taiwan or any of those countries having a trade dispute or anything like that. Not like you think because of all the tariffs and things. It actually has to do with the beginning of an attack on Iran. Hear me out. Before everybody jumps down my throat on either side of this war thing, hear me out. So nobody really realizes that a lot of our oil is imported from the Middle East. We're not the only ones. There are other folks east of the Middle East that depend on import of oil from Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and other countries. That oil is used to make a lot of the components for every industry, not just RVs. There are also other parts and other components that are not made in China, that are made in Africa and different parts of the world that are going to be affected by this actual problem occurring in Iran, no matter how long it takes. Even with their leader being, and even with the country, being set free, the reality is conflict like that generally starts to create shortages in other parts of the world in different areas. Now, I'm not saying everything's going to get jacked through the roof price wise. What I'm talking about is, and this is an example, this is not a exact, this is an example. Let's say that let's say a part for a refrigerator that's being, let's say, I don't know, being made in Egypt. That production is probably going to slow down to a crawl until whatever's going in Iran or going on in Iran kind of slows down. Remember, now all these countries are on high alert, especially if they were either enemies or allies of Iran. They're now on high alert. Any oil that was being exported is going to be exported very judiciously, or very carefully, I should say. That's judicially is the wrong word. Very carefully to places like India and different parts of the Asian continent. And that's going to slow down production of a lot of stuff, computer chips, things of that nature. So it's not just going to affect RVs, it's going to affect everybody. Is it going to affect everybody for a very long time? No, it's going to be a short period of time. I'd say 90 to 120 days is when this part shortage will probably be done and over with. But just fair warning, if you got warranty work to do not delay it. Get your butt into the service shop ASAP. Might be beneficial. Now, one thing I will say is if you're interested in how RV financing works in a better, more clear way, click on this playlist right up here and it'll give you everything you need to know from fair credit, good credit, bad credit, used, new, the whole 9 yards. Until next time, remember that RV always stands for toolkit and sense of humor.